we'll just do that. But I'm going to push record anyway. All right, so we are here today talking about Linus Tech Tips. Got his channel hacked, and The Verge has an article about this. This just happened, today, and updated a couple times today. And I did check right before we started. There's a few things professing to be Linus Tech Tips. 593 subscribers. I'm doing better than Linus. It's a good day, right? So I'm not sure if any of these are actually Linus Tech Tips trying to do anything about what they're doing. My guess is he is big enough that he's going to be able to work with YouTube and probably get his channel back. I'd be really, really surprised if somebody the size of Linus, if somebody the size of Linus gets his entire channel completely deleted immediately because of a hack, YouTube is doomed. And so I don't imagine that's the case. Unfortunately, Matthew has had this experience, but Matthew, not being, a multi-million-dollar producer for YouTube, did not have much recourse. Did you reach out to YouTube, and did they do anything, say anything? Matthew? I'm not sure if Matthew's on right now. If you are, go ahead and do that. My guess is probably not. All right. And that's what happened. The Jitsi server just decided to die again. We might have too many. Whoop, my apologies. We might have too many people on for the Jitsi server to handle it. We'll go ahead and press on. So what happened here with this breach is that this is the same one. Matthew said it's the exact same breach. It starts with an email that professes to be a content moderation concern. And so with the content moderation server coming on, then with that being the case, then what would happen is you click on the link and it goes through your browser. And as it goes through your browser, it basically hijacks everything. Now that you're back, Matthew, now you said this is exactly the same. Did you try and reach out to YouTube, and was there any response?
We had a bit of a crash.
Yep.
I don't know. It's working now. Everything's good.
Am I back?
Carry.
Yeah, you're back, Matthew.
Okay.
Did you reach out to YouTube,
back,
and what happened there?
Yeah, well, it was difficult because there was no clear direct path of support. And there was a phone number for the headquarters, but they don't do account things over the phone, so that was a dead end. So you had to do account recovery. But what happened was they took the session cookies and the browser information, and as soon as they were in the account, they reset all of the two-factor authentication keys and those secret 8-digit codes that you can recover. Those were all reset. So I had no way to prove to Google servers that I was actually me. So that was a dead end. So I had to find a form. It's actually called the YouTube hijacked account recovery form. Apparently, it happens so much. There's an actual official form for it.
Oh, fun!
That was actually difficult to find. I had to really dig deep and jump through hoops to find this, and I did all of that. And as far as I'm aware, that these are the only options that Google has that are easily accessible to do this kind of stuff. And I got no response from any of them. And that was roughly, I guess, 3 weeks ago now, 3 or 4 weeks. So it's kind of not looking good that anything will come back for me anyway. But we'll see.
So in the meantime, you've just created a new channel and uploaded what you had, right?
Yeah, I kind of had to start all over. And I'm back to the 15-minute per video limit, can't stream. It's like fresh at YouTube all over again. It's not that much fun.
Great.
Yeah. So now, do you have any other channels like BitChute, Odyssey, Rumble, any of those that you also mirror the content to?
I did have BitChute, but I haven't been active on it for a while, so it's kind of gone by the wayside. But it is there. There is, I think there's only 4 or 5 videos on it though, so it's really not worth mentioning.
Okay, so it's nothing there. All right. And I know Linus has Floatplane as the company he has, so I imagine that all of his Floatplane stuff is probably in good shape. But what you said is that they literally had access to everything in your browser. So it was a browser hijacking issue, right?
Yeah, I had two-factor authentication turned on, and it was actually tied to a device key on my smartphone.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to be paired to this to even get into the account. None of it mattered because they just duplicated the session cookies and with this hack. So when they opened the browser with those session cookies, they just walked right into the account like they were logged in.
What's interesting is on my account, I cannot do any major function without re-verifying my session. Now, I'm not using authenticator apps. I'm not using 2FA with a phone. I'm using exclusively a YubiKey, in which I have two synced to my account. So I'm not, if one of them happens to go bad or missing, I can always use the second one and get in there and work with that. So, of course, some of the things...
Way to do it.
Yeah, and that might help solve it. I don't know. Now, some of the things I've obviously done to safeguard, all of my content is mirrored across BitChute. I think all of my content is on Library. Most of my content is on Rumble, at least everything from the last few years. So everything that was beyond the cringe stage of my early YouTube is over there. So the early cringe videos, okay, maybe I was thinking about deleting them anyway, but some of them actually still produce views. So, but yeah, so basically we're getting in there now. So it starts with the email. It says it's a copyright violation, and you said it looked almost perfect.
Yeah, at first look, if you're not really paying attention, it looked legitimate because I have gotten copyright letters from Google before with some of the videos I've had in the past. It looked correct. And the sender email looked correct. It said from info@youtube.com or whatever it was. It was legitimately their email address in the sender form. You can go back in and you're going to reply to it and see the truncated string, but nobody ever does that. And scrolling down, there was a button at the bottom and it says open full report. And when you click on that, it immediately redirects to a malicious URL in the browser, and then that automatically downloads this malware to the computer. And once the malware is in the computer, they got you. And I was on a Windows machine at the time. That's probably mistake number one, but can't go back now.
Their script is looking for C/user/ it's like they get the Linux. What the hell is this?
But this type of attack is called a pass the cookie attack. And you can look up the information on that. There's a lot of good info about how it works out there. But basically, it just duplicates all of your session cookies, user agent string of the browser, and all this, and basically clones your browser, at least all the important bits, over to them, and then they can just go to the account and just walk right in.
And Jitsi collapses again. All right. Well, we're waiting for Jitsi to reconnect. Here's some information on pass the cookie attack from NetRix. So with this, multi-factor authentication is a great way to increase both on-premise and cloud security with MFA in place. When a user logs on, they're required to provide not only user ID and password, but another authentication factor. So this is basically generated by the 2FA settings. And as it's generated by the 2FA settings, then what happens now is that they're going to copy everything in this, and now they have everything, which includes your multi-factor authentication data. So browser web cookies enable the application. So now somebody had said when we just started, before we started, I think it was Dan said, or somebody said, we need to have a separate password to be able to do this. Well, the whole point of the session browser cookie is to not have to enter your password over and over. But although that is the most secure way to do it, is to not do that. All right, so you're back. You want to complete your thought there?
Yeah, I was just explaining how the hack worked. Once they duplicate those session cookies and those user agent strings and files, as far as the server is concerned, they are you. And just like you can go to a browser that you were logged into 20 minutes ago click on YouTube or Facebook, it just opens for you without having to re-enter your password. It's the same thing. They just duplicate your browser. They go to your account and they're in. They don't have to even try to break your password.
One of the things, though, is that, as I had said, I was looking for a setting yesterday, and every time I've went in there and, like, just trying to do any small change to the brand account, which would require changing the name of the channel, anything else, my Jitsi server is not doing well today. I think we have too many people on, so I'm going to see if we can maybe ask a couple of them to not jump back on for the day. Or we'll just keep on working with it. Who knows? Or I'll just pass my information I wanted to talk about. So, as I'd mentioned, though, every single time I have to go back and re-verify everything. And so with that being said, what baffles me is how much it is working. All right, guys, I think the Jitsi server is being overtaxed. I think that's kind of our problem right now. While we have had some issues in the past with the server, I have never had the issues with it when we don't have this many people on. So I'm wondering if we might want to just do sessions in small
We had
sequences.
just a few people on last week, and at 8:30 sharp it did this. It just died out with like 4 or 5 people.
Well, yeah, but we've had
then
like
the week
7
before
on
that-
the whole time, right?
And then the week before that, I think we had like just 4 people on, and it did
Yeah, I
this
think
several
4
times.
people's where my server seems to choke out at, because we're on a low tier Linode. I mean, if I jack up the Linode, it'd probably be able to handle it better, or put it on its own dedicated server, because this is sharing server space with some websites. But or there's something else going on that whatever. But I think we're just overtaxing it, is I think what the problem is.
One more thing I wanted to add there before it crashed last time is these session cookies that are hijacked aren't specific to YouTube or Google. It's everything that you had logged into your browser. So every account that I had, Facebook, Twitter, PayPal, that's an important one. My bank stuff in the browser, that one was safe because that forces log out every time. But all those other ones, you have to consider them compromised because those cookies are out there. And
and
like your Amazon login. If you bought something from Amazon and left the tab open to track it to see when it comes to your front door, it's logged on and it's vulnerable with one of them cookies.
Yeah. Well, I did get an email that I guess this was about 5 days after the initial hack. I got an email from the Google Play Store. Somebody was trying to purchase apps off of that hacked account. I had already revoked the payment information at that point, being proactive. So I'm glad I did that. But they had access to everything.
Yeah, and this is when people are like, "Well, you're too paranoid." This is why. Okay,
Yeah,
you know that I have never logged into banks or email on this computer we're on. Never done it. Okay. I do not stay logged into any different thing. Now, we're moving close to my tips to prevent this. Would anybody like to have any commentary before I get to my tips and the things that could help mitigate this? No guarantee, of course, but the things that I think will help based on the way this attack is happening. Anybody have anything you want to jump in?
I think the browsers should be re-engineered so only the browsers have access to the cookies and nothing else. And if something tries to copy or do something or read your cookies, you should get a warning message from the browser.
Well, the problem
but
is
that
how would you?
that
assumes that the browser is able to detect that something is accessing the cookies, because the cookies are stored on the hard drive, and if shell script is reading the files directly from the file system, then the browser won't necessarily see that.
Well, suppose there's special cookies like session cookies that are different from other cookies that have critical information on them. Just those cookies, or make it so there's special cookie.
Yeah, I mean, the way the cookies work, though, that's not really a possibility.
There is one thing that would have prevented this type of hack. If you remember, I guess it was 2, maybe 3 years ago, there was this controversial new introduction from Google about browser fingerprinting, where they wanted to replace cookies with these browser fingerprint.
Yeah, it's the flock. Yeah.
Yeah, this kind of hack would not be possible with that. The only
Yeah, I mean, that's just
problem-
because
the only
cookies
problem is-
themselves disappear, but it raises too many other concerns.
Right. The problem with that is even though it's more secure and it would prevent these kinds of hacks, it completely erases your anonymity on the internet.
Mhm.
And that's another problem. So it's, there is no good way to do this. It's just,
Well, if you
when
have
the internet
something
was-
like
when the internet was first conceived, they didn't design it with all this stuff in mind, and we're paying for the consequences of it.
Also, before I forget, what browser were you using?
Well, I was on my Windows machine at the time, and it was Microsoft Edge. I maintained a Windows machine for gaming, and I was doing that, and then I just happened to check my emails, and poof, there it goes. So it's but 90% of the time I'm on Linux, Debian with KDE with Firefox, but
All right.
I just had to be on Windows that day.
Anyone else want to jump in before I get to my tips?
no go ahead.
So one thing that I've been thinking of today is that there is one thing that YouTube can do to alleviate this, and that is if a user account tries to reset anything, change the email address that is used to, or change the two-factor authentication token or anything, the all registered email should send a verification code to that email address before allowing to change it, or before and then at least you get a notification that something is going on. And if they can't have access to the email, which most likely that they didn't have, at least
This is worse than a
backup
YouTube
email.
problem, the PayPal problem. This is an Amazon problem. If you have an Amazon account and you leave it open without logged out, if you got a $40,000 limit credit card attached to that, somebody's going to go shopping big time.
Yep.
I mean, and PayPal forces itself to stay logged in. They're like, we're going to keep you logged in so you don't have to do this. Like, F you.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I
Well, I
always
don't
log
want
out
to.
when I'm done using.
yeah.
During the day, if I've got multiple tabs, I always log out forcefully.
Yeah.
And I also use the option to log out of all sessions on all devices. When I'm making changes to my Pulseway or something like that. That's a useful feature. I would love to see.
So let me get into my tips here. Because I have 4 tips here that if you do these things, you will probably be fairly safe. All right. So the first tip is if you go over to a YouTube page and click About, and there's a way to see for business inquiries, you'd have to sign in. I'm not signed in here. Make sure this email address is not the same email address you're using on your YouTube account. Okay, because if somebody comes down and clicks this and they see this, they're like, oh, well, that's where you send email. So if you log in and see what my email address is over here and you send me one of these fake content creation things, I know immediately it's spam, because the email address that shows up on this page is not the email address that is attached to my YouTube account. And so that's step number 1. Make sure if you are a YouTuber, make sure the email address you have on this About page does not match the page over there, because the email address I use is so hidden. If I get something that says it's from YouTube, it has always been from YouTube. And I have had some fake YouTube scam stuff come through, and I'm just like, yep. Obviously, number 2, and I think, Matthew, you said in your video, you usually do this and you forgot to do it because it looks so legit. You got to verify all links in the emails. If you just hover over the link without clicking on it, it'll show you what it is. And zip.xyz is probably not the correct link. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So verify all links. Use 2FA keys and not a phone number for verification. A phone number, it baffles my mind how many companies want you to use a phone number for verification. Okay, because
That is
your
a terrible
phone number
idea.
is public information, and it is easy to steal, and most 2FA codes come unencrypted through SMS messages over the air to a publicly known number. Way too easy to spoof.
And that's a terrible idea.
Well, most banks now are starting to
hold on,
change
number
how they do
4.
that.
Number 4 is use YouTube on a non-default browser. So if you do accidentally click the link in the email and it opens it up, guess what? There's no session cookies there. You pull it up, and like on my computers, no session cookies. Cookies are cleared every session on default browsers. I click something, it opens a malicious site. It says, well, crap, there's nothing here to steal. All right. Also, this is why I use multiple different browsers. I have one browser, which I do default browser, random crap, never logged into anything. I have a separate dedicated browser just for YouTube. I have another separate dedicated browser I have an entire different browser just for accounting, PayPal, banks, anything related to payment, completely different computer. Because I will not want any of that stuff to be gotten. So if somebody were to get in there and steal my cookie sessions, yeah, not actually going to happen. So those are the 4 steps that I think. Matthew, do you think those 4 steps would help in this case?
I think they would. I'd like to add one more, though. If you're on Windows, the default behavior of the Windows File Explorer does not show file extensions by default.
Yes. I hate that.
So I would also recommend turning that on. Because if you get a file that says like youtube.pdf, it could actually be youtube.pdf.exe, but if that setting is off, you'll never see that exe. So if you are
definitely change that.
Yeah, if you are
definitely
on
that also means that and that also means that if you have the that also means that if you have if you have the default setting that it doesn't show the file extensions for known file types. So anytime that you do see document.txt or document.pdf, that should be a red flag, because usually you should never see that on the default setting.
Right, but most people that are on Windows aren't aware that there's any difference to them.
Correct.
You have to kind of know that Windows does this, and if you're aware of that, the chances are you've probably already turned it on anyway. So
you might also consider. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Mark.
You might also consider using a separate email client, like or like a privacy-centric email, even. I know it can't. I know email by nature is public.
Uh-oh, Jitsy's crashed again. All right, our server is overtaxed, but my apologies for that. Maybe we'll try and get that fixed up before too long here. Let's go ahead and click back in. Uh-oh, we're getting to that point where it doesn't even want me to. It's like, no, I'm going to crash entirely. I'm going to keep crashing. All right, so those are really good steps you can do to help mitigate these damages, is to just get in there and just make sure that you're not working right. It is, the Jitsi server is like super messed up right now. There we are. Now we're back. All right, we're back. One more. There we are. And let's go back over here. All right, I think we're back.
Why does Jitsi keep moving itself?
Yeah, you know, maybe it's about time to create that dedicated one, or get those websites off, or other things like that.
Well, yeah, it is your money maker.
I mean,
there was one thing I was gonna.
Yep.
I was gonna respond to something before it crashed. Talked about using a separate email client. Well, if you check your email, let's say that you just check your email through your smartphone and not on the computer, then if you open it here, it's not going to affect you over here. So that's just, and most of the time on these smartphones, they're containerized and stuff, so you're less likely to have that kind of problem. It's inconvenience, it's silly, but that might be one way to mitigate this kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. So we're going to go ahead and check in on our comments across the board. Thanks for allowing us to do things a little bit differently today. Wing37 is over on Rumble, 11 watching over there. Good evening. And Sada had to switch from Odyssey. Rumble is much better. I guess people have been saying here in the Odyssey comments that Odyssey has been a little bit patchy today. Switch to Linux on both Odyssey and Rumble just in case. And Scotty Voice just talked to Captain, the server, she can't take any more. I'm giving her all she's got. That's right. See, I know just enough about Star Trek to be able to do that voice. I know what you mean. And I gotta say, in the parody book, I wrote a parody book. In the parody book, there's a little heartbeat at the bottom of every page. On the last page, it says "She's dead, Jim." I learned only after putting that in that is actually a Star Trek reference. My apologies, I'm just not a Star Trek.
Strangest behavior.
That book is actually, you cannot buy the ebook on Amazon because they have banned it from Amazon because, basically when you do a parody book that is against the message that your pastor is preaching, people tend to review it bad. But you can go over to Amazon and buy the paperback copy if you want. It's called The Art of Shallow Neighboring, if you like to laugh at the culture and the church at the same time. As an Odyssey artist, I can't relate. Hello, folks. As I said on the Short Circuit channel, they need to be mirroring content to all platforms. That is exactly what I do. 28, by the way, watching over on Odyssey right now. Not everyone can or is willing to pay for float plane. Yep. Hello, Moonbase. Killer SCVs over there. It's all part of the secret cat agenda.
And considering using versioning as well in your backups. And back up to the cloud, have a local copy as well.
I got some Linus haters in the Matrix chat. Where is I? Let me grab my grab the phone that is connected to Matrix chat there. Let's see.
To be honest, Linus gets on my last nerve, so I get it. I'm not the biggest fan of Linus.
Yeah, as I said, I'm not a huge fan either, but I don't want anybody to get their channels hacked.
No, I will stand with him, gladly, about that. It's not.
He does come up with some
anything
good
personal. It's just being professional. You don't want people getting hacked. It could happen to you. You want to put good security posture out there. That's why we're having this stream. It's nothing personal.
Mark, he does have some videos where he gets some stuff from Amazon and stuff that's actually bad products.
Yeah.
And stuff like that underperform, and that you get an SSD and it's got a little tiny photograph card in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like it's an SSD where it claims it has like 16 terabytes of storage, but in reality it's only a 64 gig SD card on a carrier board.
Right. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and he has said multiple times on the live stream every Friday on the van show that he calls it, that he will happily talk about products that they send him, but he is very clear that does not mean that he will speak positively about it if he think that it's crap or it's somehow something that people should stay away from. He will clearly say that, and he has said so in a few. Some occasions.
He goes out of his way to look for pipe dreams.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I should go back and watch a little bit more of the WAN show again. Just see what it's like. I haven't watched him for a while.
Some of his stuff is dry, and some of his stuff is great information. It's a mixed bag.
It is a mixed bag. It's a very mixed bag.
I wonder if that's because of how many different people he has working on things.
Yeah, well, definitely a mixed bag.
I can't hear everybody at once.
Okay. His videos explaining like memory standards and CPU stuff like that is outstanding. I just wish whoever titled his videos would not title them in the way they do for clickbait, because like he made a video about CPU gigahertz and how that's not the only indicator of how a processor will perform, which I thought overall was a great video and he made great points, but the dude titled it gigahertz doesn't matter, and I'm like, carry on though.
Definitely a mixed bag, but I'd say there's more good than bad personally.
Yeah. And I mostly watched the van show anyway. So the last one was almost 4 hours long.
Which one? The WAN show?
Video that long.
Yeah, I've never been into the
WAN show. I skipped through I watched it after it's aired. I wait a day or two to watch it, and then by that time there is a specific YouTube account he's not affiliated with them in any way, but he has somehow taken it upon himself to timestamp everything that happens throughout the entire video. So I skip to the things that looks interesting, and he's really good at timestamping and writing what they're actually talking about.
Yeah. So Ricky jumped in. Hey, send an email for the invite, bro. They are. You are on either Patreon or Think Life Media. All the links are over there for the back end of this. For the reasons aforementioned on my list of tips, I don't do email on this computer. Once I'm streaming, I'm not getting your email. So sorry. But for any of the supporters on any of the platforms, I actually put the link to join in on the conference call on all of the supporter channels. Maybe what we need to do is add another supporters channel so we don't overwhelm the Jitsi server. I'm not sure I can afford to jump it up anymore, being as that cPanel raised their prices again. And actually Linode is raising their prices again. And so my server cost is going completely through the roof right now. So I'm not sure.
Isn't Linode getting wasn't Linode bought by a company called Akamai?
Yes, they were. And then they're like, hey, Linode is selling stuff for too cheap. Let's go ahead and jack up their prices. It's like literally it's like 20% increase on the Linodes. So my prices, for like a $30 node is going to be like $35. It's like almost more expensive than Amazon now. So I'm going to look at some other things. I know Liquid Web sent me some potential affiliate stuff. I was like, maybe I'll have a look at that.
How about A2 Hosting? They're one of your sponsors.
Yeah, the problem with A2 Hosting is for this type of stuff is their blank servers like this are astronomically expensive, and their cPanel hosting, because cPanel jacked up their prices, they can't eat all the costs. So their cost for me hosting the number of websites that I host is also astronomically high. We're talking thousands of dollars a year. And because cPanel keeps on jacking up their prices. In fact, somebody listed on the last support forum how much the cPanel pricing went up. I think it's gone up like 300% over the last 3 years since they went from their free to their their unlimited account model on up to, we're going to charge you for, this for this many, this for this many, this for this many. A2 Hosting would charge, I think they're charging about $1,500 for being able to run like 30 or 50 websites. It's astronomically high. So I pay the cPanel license directly, but they keep on jacking up the prices too. And now Linode is jacking up their prices. So my hosting servers are going completely through the roof, and I don't like raising prices for my customers, but I might have zero choice but to do so.
What in the world?
That's what I'm thinking.
I'm looking at Liquid Web right now. I'm looking at their website because you mentioned them. I went to look at them, and holy crap, the pricing.
Are they high, low? What are they?
So you can get a 2 gig of RAM, 2 vCPU core, 40 gig SSD, 10 terabyte bandwidth Linux server, like Linux VPS, for $59 a month, or $25 a month for 24 months.
Is that dedicated or is that shared?
This is VPS, so shared.
Well, I mean, you can do a VPS that's shared or a VPS that's dedicated.
Shared with protection.
Shared, if it's shared, that's pretty high price. So maybe I won't do them. Maybe they're. I know that they were
like
there.
Shared Plus, yeah.
Yeah, let me look
it's
at
a little better than shared because they have a little more. Supposed to have a little more security and protections in place of VPS to where your instance is isolated, even though it's on a shared.
Long Yap says, top 10 irony: most influential tech YouTuber gets hacked. That's true.
Yeah. But their dedicated pricing is even crazier. It's like 4 cores, 16 gig RAM, Intel Xeon 1230 V6 for $150 a month.
What is this? What site is this? DigitalOcean?
Was it Liquid Web?
Liquid Web.
Yeah, so maybe I won't use them. I don't know. Like I said, I got their email. I've gotten emails from like 4 or 5 different potential affiliates I want to look at working with, and I just wasn't doing any of that until the writers' conference was over last week. And right now I'm working on some letters and things that need to go for that. So this week I'm gonna start ramping up some of that back end stuff that I need to do.
They're
There's a German company called Hetzner
Web.
Hetzner,
Yeah, they're actually pretty good for what I've heard. If you remember Quint, he was using those for a while.
I think they sponsored LTT videos before. I think I've heard of them.
Oh wow, cloud. If you do a cloud like a SaaS based, I guess it's cloud service.
So bringing us back to the topic at hand, one other thing that people can do to protect themselves from being hacked is do what I do. I do all my email exclusively through a virtual machine. I have a virtual machine that does nothing else but running my email clients. And it
That's a good thing to do.
I don't click any links on that. The browser on that VM is so old that it can't open anything that's using HTTPS these days. So that's a safety feature, I guess. But have a virtual machine that does nothing but run your email client.
Here's a funny one. What if the guy who clicked the link in the email that took down Linus's channel was the guy who wrote that hateful Reddit post a couple weeks ago? Oh yeah, Linus.
I mean, yeah.
I think
here's the
he's
thing,
a
right?
Like
here's the thing, right? Though, like LTT and all that.
Hold on. I need to school somebody real quick, Mark. Hold that thought. Ramsey says the email address that shows up in the About section is the same email address to your YouTube login. Incorrect. You can change that. There is a specific email address you can put on your About page. It's the same thing. This is probably the same person keeps on saying, well, you have to have a Gmail account to have YouTube. No, you don't. I do not have a Gmail account. I have never had a Gmail account. Okay.
I don't have Gmail at all.
Sorry, I had to school some people because the email address on the About page is not explicitly tied to your email account. If you're thinking that's the case, you really have some explaining to me to do that the login email address I have is not on that About page. You can change that. It's in your brand settings. All right, go ahead, Mark. I interrupted.
Yes,
I'm sorry.
No, it wasn't me. It was Ashton, I believe, that was saying something. Or someone.
Yeah, it was me. I just didn't feel like saying anything.
Oh, was it you? Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I was looking at Hetzner. There, like, if I could get their website to show pricing in US dollars, because all the prices are shown in euros. But I think that's like, are euros just like the same? Do they have like the similar value to US dollars?
No, there's a conversion
similar,
rate.
but they're not like the same.
It's not 1-to-1, but it's close.
Yeah, it's not like 1 to 10 or 1 to 10,000. It's like 1 point something.
Yeah,
you can look them up.
Somebody in the
chat said Gutsalbu, you have the numbers.
Yeah. 100 euros is $108.
Okay, so 1.08%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Divide your browsers up, different browsers, different things. Yes. I did misspell safeguard. Yes, I did. But by the time I realized that, I'm like, I'm done. Hey, I can write books. I just can't spell in them. Come on, that's what autocorrect is for. But I just don't have autocorrect on GIMP. So yes, I did misspell safeguard. But oh well, the English teachers can yell at me. That's okay.
I remember someone said once that he also couldn't spell, and he writes books, and so he said that his job was not to check the spelling. That is the publisher's job. And then someone asked, then who is the publisher? I am.
I got a question.
The rain is coming in super heavy now, by the way, so I'm trying to mute my microphone when I'm not talking. So the more you guys talk, the more I'll mute myself. Y'all listen to me all the time.
Suppose
anyway,
that you have your system set up for one particular default browser in the settings menu of your Linux distro or whatever. If you open a link that's in your email, let's say you got Thunderbird, and will it go to the default browser you set up in your system, or will it just choose any browser that's open?
It always goes to the default browser. That's why why I use YouTube on a different browser than my default browser.
So, like, I rarely use Vivaldi. It's mainly here because I use it because it works best to get on Jitsi and stuff like that and meets with you guys without any problems. So if I just change my default to Vivaldi and never do nothing with it and leave it open, then it shouldn't give me any trouble.
Yeah, it should be fine, because then any of your cookies and stuff won't be passed over.
There won't be any, because this is the only thing in here that I use.
Yep.
I think there is a way to change the browser that Thunderbird opens. I think if you go to that top
it's
URL
in the system's default application area.
No, I'm talking about within Thunderbird itself. You can have a default browser set for your system, but you can get Thunderbird to use a different one. In that little URL thing, you go into the About Configs. There's a setting in there somewhere that can change that, but I don't remember what it is.
Yeah, I'm sure it's there somewhere, but I don't have Thunderbird installed on this computer to look.
Yeah.
One of my practices is I actually do a copy link from emails, and I'll actually post it into a browser so I can actually see what that link is supposed to be, and then I make my decision if I'm actually going to go to it or not.
I'm looking at Thunderbird.
I was going to say,
now. I'm kind of trying to find that.
I remember having to do this in Thunderbird because back in the early days of Manjaro, it was broken. I mean, surprise there, right? But it wasn't honoring the desktop's default, so I had to actually manually do it in Thunderbird. So there is a way to do it.
Yeah, there probably is, and if I had a computer turned on that had Thunderbird on it, I might look. But
if I remember correctly, if you set your system default browser to a certain browser, Thunderbird will choose that browser.
Yeah, it should, but as Matthew was saying, Manjaro was
I had to fight with that before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got a bunch more people chatting over there on Rumble. Linus does not like Linux for sure. See, but if he was using Linux, or he's more people like Anthony. Let's see. Linus Tech Tips is a good channel to watch for sure. All right. Yeah, I had a YouTube under a Proton Mail account. I'm surprised no one ever knows this. There you go. Swelling? What's swelling?
As long as he doesn't touch any... As long as he doesn't touch a Linux distribution that's based on Debian, because he seems to have, like, terrible luck. Pop! OS, it broke. Ubuntu on that one laptop video on Short Circuit, it broke.
Yeah. Well, the Pop! OS one was a pretty major bug in Pop! OS that they missed the ball on, to be fair to Linus. But,
and also, to be fair to him, he did the rookie mistake of because he wanted a distro that was good for gaming, but the Google search that he did in order to pick that was what is the best Linux distro, and then he chose one of the top 5 hits, and that's always the wrong search query when you are looking for something to game on.
Yeah.
Thunderbird is a browser in itself. Its default homepage is DuckDuckGo.
Yes, Thunderbird is actually a browser in itself, but when you click a link, it will generally open it up inside your default browser. So crazy. Yeah. All right, I think we covered our basic tips and stuff, and I think we're going to jump off here for tonight. So thanks for coming along, everybody. We do have a Christian video premiering tonight. If you are into such things, that will be over on our Walk in Christ channel. I'll go ahead and post that into every account at least I'm logged into. We're doing Hosea chapter 12. I will probably not be around to jump in and join you guys as it premieres, because I still have another hour of driving tonight before I'm somewhere where I can stay overnight. Because I'm back in Pennsylvania, and there's very few places I can actually park my van overnight. Let's see. let's copy link address. There it is. All right. So if you want to jump on, that's going to be at 9 o'clock tonight, Eastern Standard Time. Our Walk in Christ, the Fate of Judah from Hosea 12. So I went ahead and posted that everywhere I was logged in, so you guys can watch that if you would like to. And then if you do not like the Tubies, then it will appear over on Rumble, Odyssey, and BitChute within a couple of hours. So, you know what? Razzle Review just talks about the kitties being tempted. So let me see if I can tempt the kitties here. I don't know if I can pull this off. Do I have a way to tempt the kitties? I'm not sure if I have a way to tempt the kitties. Because I don't have.
I tempted my kitty this morning. That's kind of standard procedure.
Cameras pulled up. I don't think I have enough cameras pulled up right now to tempt the kitties. But I'll tempt them tonight after the camera's turned off. I promise the kitties will get tempted.
There you go.
All right. So we're going to jump off of the streaming now. So we will catch you guys tomorrow. Weekly news roundup. That will be fun. We do have enough news for Band News. So we will have Band News tomorrow. So that will be good. And I'm not anywhere that I absolutely have to jump off right away either. So there we have it. And somebody's giving me feedback, so I'm not sure who is not muted me, but we'll jump off.
Yeah, it sounds like a pinball.
Chat with you guys later. Somebody, yeah. All right. Okay.